I'm Rachel, and today we are bringing you the inside scoop to the winter at Valley Forge in Pennsylvania. George Washington and other key leaders who you will meet later trained their men, which is the Continental Army, and prepared their men with very limited supplies and the disease spreading quickly, smallpox, for battle against the British. Their training lasted from December 1777 to June 1778, and in a convenient location only 20 miles away from the capital, Philadelphia, which had recently been captured by the British. They worked hard and trained hard for this time to succeed one goal, to defeat the British and gain helpful tactics. Now you will hear from our reporter Aaliyah interviewing leader of Continental Army George Washington and another helpful asset to the colonists and the Continental Army, Frederick von Steuben.
Hi, my name's Bonnie, and today we have a very special guest, General George Washington. Let's begin with our questions. Question 1. Considering the closeness from the British captured capital, Philadelphia, specifically only 22 miles away, why did you choose Valley Forge as the key location for your winter encampment?
I chose to stay at Valley Forge because it was both close enough to watch the British forces and yet still far enough away to prepare for any surprise attacks. This location was key because it gave us higher ground and helped us prepare for anything.
Indeed, Valley Forge was definitely a key location for the help of yourself and your Continental. Next, let's proceed with question number 2. Since the winter conditions were brutal and harsh, what did you do to improve your overall living conditions for yourself and your soldiers?
My leadership, my soldiers' pride, and also patriotism helped fighting the hell that the winter brought us.
I see. The winter was definitely brutal and harsh for yourself and your men. On to question number 3. Your soldiers were out of shape at the beginning of your winter encampment. They were in need of military training and strong tactics that could be used on the battlefield. What made you choose Prussian military officer Frederick von Steuben? And what made you believe that he would improve the conditions of your soldiers?
Well, I chose Baron because he had military experience. He'd seen battle firsthand, and he was both a military officer and the son of a military engineer. Being that he was from a different region, I thought that he'd bring new war tactics. He seemed the type of man that would also be able to strengthen our army. An example of this is having latrines from the opposite sides of the kitchens.
Frederick von Steuben was definitely a great addition to your army, and he definitely helped for the beginning of your wars. On to question number 4. During your winter encampment, 2,000 deaths out of 11,000 soldiers were recorded. Many different causes contributed to these deaths, excluding deaths from previous wars. In fact, most deaths were told to be cruel and harsh because of the conditions at Valley Forge. Can you describe these causes and their effect on your army?
So the main reason of death at Valley Forge was because of the diseases smallpox, pneumonia, and typhoid fever. Hypothermia was also another example because of the extreme cold. Disease was spreading rapidly because of the overcrowding in tents. In addition to these deaths, men were lacking clothes, blankets, and shoes, causing them to walk around barefoot and leaving tracks of blood behind them. We were also lacking in food, which caused my soldiers to become starved and malnourished. This means that basically they didn't have enough energy to keep on the training, and this made them weaker. This hugely affected us because it decreased the number of men we had, and many became low in spirit, and their drive to keep going on with the war had failed at a point.
What a true tragedy to hear these deaths that were recorded. But it was great that they kept on going and had the drive to push on forward. On to question number 5. At the beginning of the long encampment, the overall mood and atmosphere at Valley Forge was low and down. Though near the beginning of spring and towards the end of the encampment, many described their moods as changed and their spirits were high. Some have claimed that their drive as a soldier and patriotism were revitalized. What factors contributed to this drastic change of moods within your soldiers?
Well, a big factor of my soldiers' high spirits came from Frederick von Steuben. Like I said before, he instilled a new confidence and discipline in my soldiers. Some soldiers' wives even contributed by sending in supplies. Even the patriotism from the colonists back at home had a huge impact and gave us new confidence.
I see. Frederick von Steuben was definitely a great addition to your soldiers and gave high spirits to your soldiers, which helped them drive to the end of your encampment. On to the last question, number 6. Many basic necessities were lacked, such as clothing, food, and blankets. Your soldiers were in desperate need, and the number of your men were drastically decreasing. Who helped and contributed positively to the conditions throughout the long encampment? Did you expect these good deeds from this specific group?
These completely unexpected gifts that we received were blankets and toiletries from the colonist women. They were extremely grateful for their generosity.
How nice of the women to go on an extra mile and help you guys through this war and encampment. And we're back with the next special guest, Frederick von Steuben. On to the first question. Your skilled work and prestigious battle methods were very useful to the Continental Army when training. Your military tactics were impeccable and highly thought of. How did you gain such knowledge and experience in a difficult setting of war?
I gained military knowledge and experience because at the age of 17 I became a Prussian officer. By becoming a Prussian officer at such a young age, I gained a lot of first-hand battle experience and tactics. I also served for Frederick the Great's general staff. I picked up and memorized many of these tactics, which I later enforced with the Continental Army.
You were a true addition to the Continental Army, and your first-hand battle experience as a Prussian military officer definitely did help the Army. On to the next question. Question number 2. Aside from helping the Army with their military troubles and conditioning, you have also contributed to the Army in a different way. You insisted on reorganization and demanded for all to have basic hygiene. You demanded for kitchens and basic latrines, a toilet outside of each person's barrack. You're aware that the soldiers were known for dirty and messy camps, which you wanted to reorganize to keep the areas clean. Why did you insist on these changes and go out of your way to help in other ways aside from battle skills?
I insisted on these new changes and went out of my way to help the Army because they were in deep troubles. The spread of disease was inevitable and an unsterile environment was existing. Latrines were established throughout the camp and were separated from the kitchens to effectively reduce the spread of disease. Because of many fatalities, change was necessary.
On to question number 3. Many credit you for the training of the Continental Army and strengthening the skills. The Army was said to be improved and more knowledgeable of the battlefield with new strategies and skills. What skill did you primarily focus on in training that enhanced their performance on the battlefield?
To enhance their performance on the battlefield, I primarily focused on showing them regular simple skills such as marching and reloading muskets in a quicker pace. I insisted on methods of modern boot camp that efficiently made the soldiers practice shooting and firing until it became natural for them. By learning the basics and enforcing them, the Continental Army gained more experience.
On to question number 4. Coming from a different perspective and part of the world, you were accustomed to a more aggressive military. Your advanced skills were in effect from the difficult Prussian drill techniques. However, alongside with the military skills, you also brought your differences in language. You speak mainly French and small parts of English. How are you able to command and teach thousands of soldiers, acknowledging the fact that English was not your first language?
To be honest, teaching and instructing thousands of soldiers was a very difficult task at first. However, with the help of Nathaniel Greene and Alexander Hamilton, I was able to train these soldiers and provide them with every piece of information I had to. Both Nathaniel Greene and Alexander Hamilton helped translate with my commands and through every step of the way.
Wow. With even the difficulty of you learning a language, you truly came through to help these soldiers. Proceeding with question number 5. You primarily focus on military tactics and skills when training the Continental Army. You also believed in another principle of an army and shaped the Continental Army around this belief. What did you teach the Continental Army other than military skills?
Other than focus on military skills and tactics, I also like to focus on other aspects such as discipline and cleanliness. I spent a lot of time teaching discipline to the soldiers because I believe an army should be trained and prepared for war with orderliness and control. Being clean was also a key part of my training because the men needed to be sterile and reduce the spread of disease.
What a great commander! Not just helping the army and military tactics and skills, but also showing them discipline and basic hygiene. So the last question, number 6. Your arrival at Valley Forge was through word, traveling from person to person. Recommendations were made, and a good word was put in for you. Describe the process it took and the people involved for your arrival at Valley Forge.
The process of getting myself as one of the commanders at Valley Forge was lengthy and most definitely time-consuming. I was recommended by the French minister at first. The French minister put in a good word and spoke to Benjamin Franklin, convincing him to speak to General George Washington. George Washington was immediately stunned and accepted me to help his army.
Wow, it was definitely a lengthy process to get you into the Continental Army, but it was definitely worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. you.
Now that you have heard the inside scoop from leader George Washington and another key asset to the colonists, Frederick von Steuben, you can understand how horrible and harsh life was at camp. This is Rachel from Inside of Philadelphia, and we'll be back tomorrow with more information.
You can definitely hear me like giggling in the back.
I hope I keep this in by accident. No, by accident.
On to the last question. Did you expect these good deeds from this specific group?
Even though you laughed, like that wasn't bad.
That wasn't it. Okay, ready?
I'm already recording.
And we're back.
Because why do I keep saying because there? There's no because.